WVU has now officially announced the enrollment of the final transfer edition we've been waiting for. So it's time for another West Virginia football roster update here on the Country Roads webcast. Let's go. What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Jordan Cruz back here with the Country Roads webcast. And before I get into this video, just want to give you guys a quick reminder. If you would do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button, giving us a like on this video. It'll really help not only its performance, but future videos performances here on the channel. And if you're a WVU fan, be sure hit that subscribe button. Helps us and it helps you, as it helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, let's get into it. All right, as I mentioned in the cold open, West Virginia has now announced the addition of the enrollment of the final transfer edition that we were waiting to add to this 2023 football roster, and that is, of course, Anthony Wilson coming to the Mountaineers from Georgia Southern. We've covered him previously in the past. I think this is a great addition for this defense this upcoming season. Really great at tackling, which is something we know that this defense struggled with last season, and over the past 2 years, he's been one of the top tacklers in all of Division I college football, each of the past 2 seasons amassing over 200 total tackles in both of those combined. So really excited to see this addition come to Morgantown, and believe he'll have a great impact on this West Virginia defense this upcoming season, wherever he plays in that secondary. We know he's listed as a safety, but who knows if he could factor in at the spear. We'll see what happens, as West Virginia has made a lot of great transfer additions to that secondary. Anthony Wilson, just the latest in that line, and of course the final transfer edition we were awaiting. So West Virginia now only awaiting the addition of one more player, and that's an incoming freshman wide receiver recruit in Traylon Ray. Other than that, every player that West Virginia had signed letter of intents is now enrolled at the university with this addition of Anthony Wilson, as you see detailed by Mike Montoro in a press release over on the university's official site there, WVUsports.com, as you get a little bit of a look at his bio there for the 5'10", 200-pound safety coming to Morgantown from Georgia Southern, originally a native of the state of South Carolina. But he will have 2 years of eligibility remaining for the Mountaineers this upcoming season. So let's take a look at our roster tracker here on the Country Roads webcast. Let's add Anthony Wilson in there and take a look at how things are shaping up just ahead of fall camp here as we get closer and closer to the start of this 2023 West Virginia football season. All right, so if you've been following along the Country Roads webcast throughout this offseason, I've continued to update the West Virginia roster as players enroll and are added to it on the university's official site there, and I've dated them each so you'll know when each update occurred. This one, of course, being our July 1st update, will probably be our last one for a while, save for the aforementioned addition of Traylon Ray that we're hoping to have come sometime before fall camp. Other than that, the next roster updates will come once fall camp starts, and we continue to update some of these positions these players may be playing and things like that. But I'll scroll through here from the beginning slowly till we get down to where we're going to add Anthony Wilson in. As some of you all may not have followed along, you can get a look at the roster as it kind of stands currently for West Virginia. And of course, the caveat with this is that I'm not including preferred walk-ons, although there may be some, and I believe there will be some, that will help West Virginia this upcoming season, just for brevity purposes and to make it easier on myself while tracking this. This roster only includes scholarship players that are on the West Virginia roster as we reach the defense and scroll through here. I do want to mention that I think Anthony Wilson could play the spear in the future for West Virginia. I said the same about Keyshawn Cobb. However, he worked at free safety when he was here in the spring, and for now we're going to factor in Anthony Wilson at the cat safety position, where he could potentially compete with Marcus Floyd there, and also would be the incumbent there behind Marcus Floyd, as Anthony Wilson is a redshirt junior with 2 years of eligibility remaining, and we know this is Marcus Floyd's final year of eligibility in college football. So for now, we're going to put Anthony Wilson there at the cat safety position, the latest addition to the West Virginia roster here on the July 1st roster update on the CRW, but not ruling out him playing any other position along the West Virginia secondary safety wise there. I think he's that type of talent. He could play free, he could play spear. We'll see where they use him once we get into fall camp, as is the case with a lot of these defensive back additions that I've talked about. I mentioned Keyshawn Cobb as well. He's come in from Buffalo. I think he has potential to play spear. West Virginia's got several guys that could factor into a competition at spear, as I believe that's kind of an open position. Lance Dixon played it a little bit last season, as did Hershey McLaurin, and they're both going to be there as well. But don't rule out Keyshawn Cobb and Anthony Wilson maybe getting involved at spear, either one of those two. And then, of course, defensive back-wise, Beanie Bishop, Montre Miller, great additions to the cornerback position. I think Beanie Bishop will be a starting slot corner for the Mountaineers, so that kind of is almost what that spear position plays at times in passing situations. So in essence, he will be a slot nickel corner, but that is almost like a spear in certain packages for West Virginia, so you can maybe even throw his name in the mix there. I think Montre Miller will factor in as one of the two starting corners for West Virginia. And then the spear position, as I mentioned, Hershey McLaurin and Lance Dixon, but don't rule out Raleigh Collins, a talented redshirt freshman that's going to be in the mix there as well. So I think, a handful of guys in the mix at the spear position and the safety positions, as West Virginia has added a lot of talented transfer defensive backs that will help this year's roster. And I think this secondary will be improved because of these transfer additions. Of course, the latest and the subject of this video being Anthony Wilson finally being added to the West Virginia roster. As I'll scroll through it one more time here, wrapping up, this is pretty much the complete roster of scholarship players at this point for the upcoming season. As I said, the lone holdout that we're waiting on to this point is an incoming true freshman at the wide receiver position in Traylon Ray. Everyone else has now been officially added to the roster. West Virginia does have 2 scholarships remaining, so there could still be some late transfer additions before fall camp, or we could see some of those preferred walk-ons be awarded a scholarship for the upcoming season. We'll see what happens, but in either of those cases, if West Virginia adds another transfer, if Traylon Ray comes in, or if a walk-on's awarded a scholarship, we'll add them to the roster here and provide you guys with another roster update here on the Country Roads webcast. So there you have it, Mountaineer Nation. Our first roster update here in the month of July, coming at you with our July 1st West Virginia football roster update here on the CRW. Hope you guys enjoyed that, but be sure to let me know, how do you feel about the potential of Anthony Wilson this season for West Virginia? Do you think he'll play cat safety, or do you see him factoring in somewhere else on this defense this upcoming season? Be sure to let us know your thoughts on his addition and the West Virginia roster as it's shaping up in general, getting closer and closer to the start of fall camp for this 2023 season. Be sure to let us know those thoughts down in the comments. We really appreciate the interactions as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads webcast community throughout Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.